Episode 56 Malawian Quatches December 1, 2023. At COP28 are they pushing clean renewable or pushing dirty wood-burning renewable? World. Wood-burning is more expensive than central heating. Wood-burning is more expensive than central heating. Futurebuild, a new study by Global Action Plan and Impact on Urban Health, has found that not only are household wood-burners bad for health and the environment. World Union of Concerned Scientists. If the U.S. meets its climate goals, we can save money and lives. UCS blog, Union of Concerned Scientists. What is fine particulate matter and what does it do to our health? Fine particulate matter, or PM2.5 for our purposes, refers to tiny particles. World, NASA. Filling an air pollution data gap, NASA Earth Observatory PM2.5. The second chart shows ozone, O3, and PM2.5 output for the nearby Kennedy neighborhood. In both cases, the model accurately captured. World PM2.5 and fossil fuels, wood-burning not mentioned. Air pollution deaths attributable to fossil fuels, observational and modeling study, the BMJ Global mortality burden. Figure 1 presents global all-cause deaths attributable to long-term exposure to ambient fine particulate matter, PM2.5. World PM2.5 and High Resolution Mapping. Ultra-high resolution mapping of ambient fine particulate matter to estimate human exposure nature. Here, we combined the both ultra-high resolution PM2.5 concentration with population distribution to provide the personal daily PM2.5 internal dose. World PM2.5 and wildfires. Why wildfires are burning hotter and longer. Science, Smithsonian Magazine Klimek. All around this group of people were piles of burning wood, but this wasn't a campfire. This was a prescribed burn. Prescribed burns, Oregon. United States, ATS Report and Pulmonology. ATS Report, Air Pollution in U.S. linked to substantial adverse health outcomes. Pulmonology Advisor. Particulate matter 2.5, PM2.5, 25 μg/m3 for short-term PM2.5, and 60 ppb for ozone, O3. The new edition of the report also includes health. Massachusetts, Harvard University. Legacy of heading off deaths from industrial air pollution. Harvard Gazette Six Cities was the first to link excess mortality in 6 U.S. cities to emissions of what are called particulate matter 2.5, or PM2.5. New Jersey, no safe wood burning. Governor Murphy vetoing Christmas tree bonfire bill. Murphy called Grinch for vetoing Christmas tree bonfire bill. New Jersey, the center square. In contrast to safe wood burning, the wood is not dry and will create more smoke than otherwise necessary. The agency pointed out that many. New York. Open burning, NIDEC, New York State Department of Environmental Conservation NY.gov Fire Department will have information about local burning laws. Watch a burning trash in wood stoves, fireplaces, and outdoor wood boilers. NY.gov Burning laws. Watch a public service Part 219 incinerators prohibits burning trash in wood stoves, fireplaces, and outdoor wood boilers. Only charcoal or dry, clean, untreated or unpainted wood can be burned. Fires cannot be left unattended and must be fully extinguished. In towns with New York. Residential and commercial wood burning, NIDEC full coverage. New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. New indoor wood stoves are not regulated by the DEC. They are regulated by the United States Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, through a new. Ohio, Cincinnati. Cincinnati sees uptick in fires in winter months. WCPO heating devices like space heaters, fireplaces, and wood-burning stoves can play a part. The smoke alarms, that's our #1 life-saving device. Pennsylvania, Ligonier. Ligonier Township resident asks for more time with ordinance violations. Local news. The Latrobe Bulletin. The family's troubles with the township began in 2017 with just 2 complaints, a wood-burning stove and exposed electrical wire. But both the stove. Utah, Toll. Tooele air reaches yellow. Tooele Transcript Bulletin. PM2.5 pollutant. The county's PM2.5 concentration reached a peak. PM2.5 is small particulate matter with diameters of 2.5 micrometers or smaller. Washington, Pierce County. Burn ban lifted in Pierce County, Clean Air Agency says. Tacoma News Tribune. TE Stage 1 burn ban was issued Sunday following high levels of overnight and early morning wood smoke. Burning wood during these bans. Children. Washington, Spokane. Burn ban in effect in Spokane County as heavy use of wood stoves and fireplaces breeds the spokesman review. Outdoor burning restrictions are in effect throughout Spokane County until further notice, with limits on fireplace use also in place for many. United Kingdom, Nottingham, Clean Air Nottingham. Wood burning warning. Climate group issues major health warning to anyone with wood burning stove in their home. Gedling I. Wood-burning stoves produce 150 times more tiny particle pollution than a modern HGV truck, a new report by Clean Air Nottingham claims. Wood-burning stoves produce 150 times more tiny particle pollution than a modern HGV truck, a new report by Clean Air Nottingham claims. United Kingdom, Wirral. Campaign launched over home fires and wood-burner safety in Wirral Globe. These particles, called particulate matter, can settle in lungs causing respiratory issues and impacting lung function. Burning also affects air. United Kingdom, York. Fuel for thought this winter. City of York Council burning wood and other solid fuels in the home image of a pair of lungs filled with smoke and a wood-burning stove, with. The council has launched its new Fuel for Thought campaign this week, raising awareness of the dangers of burning wood and other solid fuels in China, Chengdu. Chengdu Air Pollution, Real-Time Air Quality Index, AQI, Beijing Air Quality. India, PM2.5 and melting snow. Black carbon accelerated the melting of snow and ice in critical regions. New report. Deccan Herald. Black carbon is a fine particulate matter, PM2.5, component of the polluted air, a leading cause of poor health and premature deaths. PTI. Last. India, PM2.5 and melting snow. Black carbon accelerated the melting of snow and ice in critical regions, report the Times of India. Black carbon is a fine particulate matter, PM2.5, component of the polluted air, a leading cause of poor health and premature deaths. Titled The India, PM2.5 PM Modi follows maximum global talk, minimum local walk, says Congress. The Hindu. He claimed that between 2015 and 2020 alone, the share of Indians exposed to PM2.5 above 100 has doubled, reversing improvements over the previous. COP28 news. COP28 faces debate over controversy. Mired carbon credits. https://www.barron's.com/news/COP28-faces-debate-over-carbon-credits-57B06 Controversial credits bought by corporations to offset their carbon emissions will be in the spotlight at UN climate talks next month. ROSEP view. Carbon credits for change out of wood stoves is lumped with shampoo carbon credits in this article. Changing out wood stoves would seem to be much better for the environment than changing your type of shampoo. Excerpts edited by ROSEP for brevity and clarity and relationship to Residents Against Wood Smoke Emission Particulates, a 5013c nonprofit organization. These credits allow them to label everything from shampoo to air travel as carbon neutral. Carbon credits have been debated since their inclusion in the 1997 Kyoto Protocol. But their reputation was hit hard this year when several scientific studies and investigative reports questioned the credibility of the lucrative voluntary market, which lie outside the UN process. The absence of standards, regulations, and rigor in voluntary carbon market credits is deeply concerning, UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres told the COP27 climate conference last year. Carbon credits are derived from projects that claim to absorb or store CO2 through their implementation. That could be anything from fighting deforestation, replacing wood-burning stoves, or replacing coal-fired power plants with wind turbines. One credit equals the reduction or removal of 1 ton of CO2 from the atmosphere, and companies can buy these credits to compensate for their carbon footprint. That, at least, is how it looks on paper. The climate talks starting in November will try to iron out these details for states to enter the carbon offset market, despite the concerns of researchers. COP28 host the United Arab Emirates has said it hopes for progress during the Dubai conference to get credibility in the markets. Since I've been studying carbon offset quality for over 2 decades, quality has been consistently poor and very poor, director of the Berkeley Trading Project Barbara Haya told AFP. Haya and her team carried out a study on averted deforestation. They concluded that emission reductions and the benefits of the projects had been exaggerated and had often violated the rights of local populations. There was no guarantee project inspectors were independent and the practices of carbon credit certifiers such as Verra and Gold Standard were lax, they said. All participants in the market as it is structured today benefit from more credits, said Haya. And that means too many credits are issued and most fail to make the promised reductions. In the face of this criticism, the price of carbon credits for nature conservation projects collapsed from $18 per ton in January 2022 to $6 in January 2023, then less than $2 by mid-October. After a peak of more than 350 million credits issued in 2021, numbers decreased slightly in 2022 and 2023. But they remain well above pre-2020 counts, and according to Bloomberg, credits could reach 8 billion by 2050. Nor are corporations alone in relying on them for carbon neutrality. Article 6 of the landmark Paris Agreement allows countries to cooperate on hitting emissions reduction targets, including by transferring carbon credits. It could thus allow states to substantially invest in the carbon credit market, while developing countries could count on the credits for crucial climate funding. Oil-producing countries meanwhile see them as a cheap solution to reaching net zero status. Saudi Arabia has already announced a national offset scheme for corporations that are Article 6 aligned. According to multiple outlets, Liberia is in the process of an agreement that would grant 10% of its territory to forest protection in exchange for carbon credits for an Emirati company chaired by a member of Dubai's ruling family. This kind of agreement could lead to large-scale greenwashing operations, said Alain Carcendi from the French Agricultural Research Center for International Development. Greenwashing is when companies or countries use deceptive claims to convince the public that their products or operations are environmentally friendly. Researchers and campaign groups are pushing for the end of offsetting. Instead, they want a contribution approach in which companies and governments would finance projects necessary for reducing emissions. They would not be allowed to use carbon credits for dubious claims of carbon neutrality. Hea argues that independent experts need to be involved without an interest in the outcome. There also needs to be more data transparency, she said. I do worry that the UN system is the opposite of what we need in order to carry this out, she added. Razep view about the article below and its charts of fossil and renewable energy, with wood-burning pollution left out. The New York Times published charts of clean power, defined as not fossil fuel power, and fossil power, the only kind of power not clean, according to the New York Times chart. Here's where renewable energy is expanding around the world, and where fossil fuels are on the decline. The New York Times. Excerpts edited by Razep for brevity and clarity and relationship to Residents Against Wood Smoke Emission Particulates, a 5013c nonprofit organization. Carbon-free electricity has never been more plentiful. Wind and solar power have taken off over the last 20 years, faster than experts ever expected. But it hasn't yet been enough to halt the rise of coal and gas burning. That's because global demand for electricity has grown even faster than clean energy, leaving fossil fuels to fill the gap. The dynamic has pushed up carbon emissions from the power sector at a time when scientists say they need to be falling, and fast, to avoid dangerous levels of global warming. Much of the rising power demand has come from rapidly developing countries like China and India, where new coal plants are still coming online alongside wind and solar farms to power meteoric economic growth. The big question, said an electricity analyst at Ember, a London-based think tank, is whether countries can increase the pace of renewable energy deployment so that actually enabling deep and rapid carbon dioxide emissions cuts. That question will take center stage at COP28 over the coming days. The New York Times. December 1, 2023. Narendra Modi, India's leader, rebukes developed countries. A small section of humanity has indiscriminately exploited nature. Excerpts edited by Razep for brevity and clarity in relationship to Residents Against Wood Smoke Emission Particulates, a 5013c nonprofit organization. Mother Earth is looking toward us to protect her future, India, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said. We have to succeed. Modi pledged to redouble efforts to shift the world's most populous country away from fossil fuels. Razep note. Why don't they mention biomass, which is more polluting than fossil fuels, and accelerate the development of renewable energy? Razep note. Are they talking about clean renewable energy like wind, solar and geothermal, or talking about replacing coal burning with wood burning, which is labeled renewable? But wood burning produces more CO2 and PM2.5 than coal burning. Wood burning emits 450 times more PM2.5 than the fossil fuel natural gas burning. India has rapidly built out wind and solar power in recent years. At the same time, India is still building new coal plants and derives the majority of its power from fossil fuels. In 2021, India's subsidies for fossil fuels were 9 times the size of clean energy subsidies. Mr. Modi. cast blame on the developed nations, primarily the United States and European countries, that have produced the most emissions in historical terms. Climate change is already unleashing devastating impacts on India and its neighbor, Pakistan. Heat waves scorched both countries in recent years, New York Times Climate Forward newsletter. December 1, 2023. The newsletter headline was, "We'll be bringing you special updates from the COP28 conference for the next 2 weeks." Excerpts edited by Rozep for brevity and clarity and relationship to Residents Against Wood Smoke Emission Particulates, a 2013 nonprofit organization. Heads of state and government spoke at the COP28 climate summit in Dubai, United Arab Emirates, on Friday. The annual meeting, known as COP28, comes near the end of what scientists forecast will be the hottest year in recorded history. King Charles III of Britain said, "Our choice now is a starker and darker one. How dangerous are we prepared to make our world?" While many developed countries are installing more wind and solar power, global greenhouse gas emissions and fossil fuel demand continue to rise. Unless there is a significant and radical shift in our economic and industrial patterns, we are hurtling at a perilous velocity on a trajectory toward the dire scenario of a world that is warmer by 3 degrees Celsius, President William Ruto of Kenya said. The United Arab Emirates is one of the world's biggest oil producers, and Dubai is a city built using the enormous profits reaped from exporting crude. The president of COP28, Sultan Al Jaber, is also the head of the Emirati state oil company, ADNOC, an arrangement that injected a sense of disillusionment into the talks for some people. Mohamed Adaw is the director of Power Shift Africa, a research organization participating in the conference. Neither President Biden of the United States nor President Xi Jinping of China were in attendance, though Vice President Kamala Harris, a last-minute addition, was scheduled to speak on Saturday. Reminders of the war between Israel and Gaza punctuated the speeches on a day when fighting resumed after a week-long ceasefire. Isaac Herzog, the president of Israel, and Mahmoud Abbas, the president of the Palestinian Authority, were both scheduled to address the attendees on Thursday, but neither spoke. The rift between rich and poor countries was on display throughout the day. While the United States and Western European countries are responsible in historical terms for most of the emissions that are warming the planet, developing nations are the ones bearing the brunt of climate change, and they often lack the funding to develop renewable energy and rebuild after disasters. In Brazil, the climate emergency is already a reality, Brazil's president, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, said. "We are yet another COP, and I am disheartened to state that most of these commitments are yet to be fulfilled," said Wavel Ramkalawan, the president of the Seychelles, an archipelago off the coast of East Africa. Yet, there were signs that some developed countries were renewing their efforts to support poorer nations. On Thursday, delegates reached an agreement in principle on a fund that would help poor countries cope with climate disasters. Over the next 11 days, negotiators from more than 170 nations will write a final agreement that must be ratified by every country in attendance. The need for unanimous consent means that each word in the final document will be scrutinized. In previous years, representatives from oil-producing nations have vetoed language calling for a rapid phase-out of fossil fuels. Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, was among the few Western leaders to call for an end to coal, oil and gas, fossil fuels. Rozep note, Macron did not mention phasing out biomass, wood, burning.